welcome to Court TV Live. I'm Chanley Painter. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Court TV is back in Florida today for our next big trial. This one against defendant Pete Jeffrey. Jury selection is underway right now. 50 potential jurors were brought in this morning for questioning. Now, Jeffrey is accused of the murder of his ex-wife, Lisa Jeffrey. The 48-year-old went missing on her birthday back in 2018, 3 weeks after her disappearance. Her battered and decomposed body was discovered inside the travel camper she still shared with her ex-husband. Now, Jeffrey told investigators he fought with his ex-wife the night of her birthday, a fight that turned physical. Then he went to bed. Now, he says he found Lisa, his estranged wife, dead in their bathroom the next morning, then scrambled to hide her body. Jeffrey was initially charged with second-degree murder back in 2018, but a grand jury indicted him on first-degree premeditated murder following year. Now, Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae joins us live now from Ocala, Florida. Good afternoon, Julia.
Good afternoon, Chanley. Jury selection is going on inside of the Marion County Courthouse, and they have just completed the first round of questioning for those 20 jurors out of the 50-juror pool. They've been fielding a lot of questions about premeditation versus heat of passion, but they look very relaxed, and so does the defendant, Bo Pete Jeffrey, who's sitting there in the courtroom as these questions are coming to this potential jury pool, as they are looking to seat a total of 12 jurors plus alternates.
All right. Now, Julie, I know that you've been pouring through the court file like we always do before a big case. What, if anything, has really stood out to you?
Well, what's really standing out to me about this case is what the defense has tried to do to keep out a lot of the evidence from being in front of this jury. Of course, they are hearing about that during jury selection, but there was a motion to suppress. It was one of the big motions by the defense at the pretrial phase to keep out the discovery of the body of the victim, the ex-wife of the defendant, Lisa. And essentially, they are saying that because of the way that law enforcement carried out that search of his trailer to ultimately find her body, that it was an illegal search because he wasn't home at the time, and they used his girlfriend, who didn't live there officially. It wasn't on her driver's license, but she did live there between that home and her mother's home. But the defense said she was not someone who had the authority to consent to a search. Therefore, they wouldn't have been able to arrest the defendant if police had not used her to get into the home and then get a warrant for the things that they observed while they were inside.
Interesting. Now, there's also a letter that the defendant wrote or had someone handwrite for him. Tell us about that.
That's right. This happened in January of this year. So the defendant had someone write it for him. We understand that he is illiterate. That's our understanding based on the fact that he says in this letter through the person writing it that he's having them write it because he is unable to write. And also that in the courtroom today, he declined to have a pen and paper because he said he's not able to write. But he has a list of questions that he had for the judge. And one of those first questions is what I just mentioned, the fact that he's asking the judge, is it legal or can just anyone consent or give permission to search my home without my permission? This person was just someone I was dating at the time. Her name is not legally related to me or married. And he's talking about Patricia Burton. She's ultimately that person who gave officers the authority to go inside that trailer where they would find the decomposing body of Lisa Jeffries. And Patricia Burton faced some problems legally herself related to this case. She was actually arrested and charged with lying to police and not giving them all of the right information during this investigation. She served about 16 days in jail for that. But this defendant was trying to speak with the judge directly after saying he had problems with his lawyers over how those officers were able to first get into his home.
Interesting. And I know that letter goes on to even talk about the cause of death there. Tell us about that.
It's a question that we're not sure how that's going to play inside the trial. This was back in January, But we know that the body of Lisa Jeffries had been there for some time, and it was decomposed by the time that it was turned over to authorities, and then the coroner was able to do that medical examiner. And what we're drawing from that handwritten letter is towards the bottom. He had several questions, but one of those final questions is he's saying that he knows that the original autopsy, from what he understands, doesn't say the cause of death in this case, and he wonders why, and that his lawyer told him that there was another autopsy that was going to be conducted, but he was not aware of when that was going to happen or if it had happened. So it'll be interesting to know if that is going to be an issue in this case that the defense is going to raise. Are they going to argue that there's no cause of death, so you can't really tell how the victim died and that the defendant was responsible?